Welcome back to Calmly Aligned. Today we're talking about black tax. This is a concept that's seated at the intersection of love, duty, and bank accounts.
My name is Amanda.
Priscilla.
And Samantha.
So this is Calmly Aligned.
Black tax is a concept that's common within the African and Black community. It's basically a duty, a sense of responsibility. Just as there's generational wealth in the Western context, there's generational responsibility in the African context. This is where an individual who is the first to make it in a family carries the burden of lifting their families out of poverty. Basically, building a roof over their families' heads. What are your opinions on black tax?
My opinion on black tax, I feel like the concept came from a good place. It's a beautiful concept that allows for people to rebuild, even from destruction, even when they don't have, because they have a community around them to push them forth. So that's how I view black tax. I understand that sometimes it can be abused and people are taken advantage of. And yeah, but I feel like the concept came from a good place and it's a lovely concept to have. Yeah, and giving is, of course, a good thing. Most companies, when they're successful, they have a budget set aside for the corporate social responsibility activities. So yeah, I feel like, so black tax comes in the same way. When people are successful, it's always good to look back and pull a hand wherever you can.
As you said rightly so, Amanda, is that it's a good concept. It's born out of Ubuntu, which is a spirit of oneness in our African context. It was actually coined, I think, in the post-apartheid era of South Africa, where the few Black individuals who had tried to make it out of poverty had to lift their communities along with them. However, this concept can breed entitlement. I want to take from our context. We are second generation refugee families. Our parents fled Rwanda in the 1959 crisis, where there was a civil war. And they suffered a lot. They were in refugee camps. They started from negative. They had to claw their way out of poverty. And we all know what those refugee camps can be like. There's poor sanitation, poor nutrition. So for our parents, kudos to them. They really lifted each other out of poverty. So for us, a second generation, we're not starting from negative. We're in a better place. We've had an education. We've lived in a decent life. But now that we have aging parents, and we're in that generation caught in the middle, you have aging parents and then you have little children. So as you're bringing up your family of small children, you have your aging parents who you have to look after as well. That's another form of black tax that we are facing. So this whole concept of, I have to lift my family out of this situation, I have to take on this burden. Please note, I don't believe we're in that age group yet where our parents are incapacitated or where our extended family members are incapacitated. Why are we still carrying this black tax to a large extent?
I mean, you mentioned refugees and what living in conditions the conditions that refugees live in, and what a difference it makes to have someone already on ground who has started to create something to lean back and pull you up, right? I feel like we might not necessarily be in it right now, but I feel like our parents are who they are because someone reached back and helped them set themselves up. For me, that thing, it's so deeply ingrained, having had it and having seen it so many times throughout so many generations and families. I feel like those, how you see roots running and connecting, I feel like that has kept African societies connected and rooted in rich communal relationships. And it sets us apart. And by the way, it's not even just maybe, let's say, financially. For me, the way that I think about it is our parents might not need our financial help. But you know how abroad you see movies where people are putting their parents into old
people's
yeah,
homes.
Yeah. For me, I feel like our culture is so interconnected with us being united and helping each other
Community.
that the idea that
It's
your
offensive.
aging parent, you're too busy working and you have no time to care for them or find a carer, that you would place them. I feel like we would never do that. And I feel like it ties back into that thing of I am because
Ubuntu.
yeah, it's so I appreciate it so much. I know that so many times it's been misused. We've all had stories, and I appreciate that. There are people who feel like family will it's extortion. There are people who feel like they're being taken advantage of. They're being emotionally blackmailed.
Yeah.
There are people who feel like that, and I empathize because it's a thin line to walk.
These days they even say that you can't share how much you make with your parents.
Yes.
Or with your
There are
siblings.
people who are not comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
But for me, that's sharing how much you make. I even learned, when you're a child and an uncle gives you 50K, before you reach home, your mama has planned for it. So now, now today you're the one buying, today you're the one buying bread. So now as an adult, really,
Yeah.
why are you sharing big amounts of money? Because then she will see opportunities to give. And we
I
have very
know.
generous parents.
I know.
I have an auntie who was giving a eulogy at her mom's funeral. And she was like, Wanange, ajeri, yari aje waka. And you find neighbors in the house. She's giving them food. And then she'd be like, that food is for a week. She's like, emere tebajima bantu. But she did kuma. She even went and collected them to give. So I think that's part of
the
I
spirit
don't know,
of
maybe,
community.
yeah, it's a spirit of community, and also it's a way of parents maybe show. I don't know if it's a showing their pride in you, or reaching out. Gwanga muje, don't starve.
Passing something down and
But aren't we also encouraging laziness? Like in our extended family members, relatives who go and give birth to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and they can't look after those kids. They're like, oh, Amanda is going to pay fees. Priscilla will send upkeep. Let me just give birth.
No, I feel like for everything in life, there has to be a boundary.
moderation even.
Yeah, because that one now is making people pay for your bad manners and bad choices.
Poor planning.
Poor planning,
of
honestly.
planning.
Because if I have no job right now and I start having babies, that is automatically me being entitled and meaning my mother has to take care of the baby.
I have no
Because
job,
I
but
have no
babies.
No, I'm saying you have a husband, you're working together as a unit to raise babies. But I'm saying you don't have a job, you have no source of income, and now you're having a baby. Baby one is a mistake. Baby two, you took it for granted. 3, 4, 5, that is abuse of access.
Yeah.
Those people you cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about these parents who feel like they've just gone into retirement, they have their own needs, they're getting a pension fund, but they still feel like you should be giving a monthly stipend to them? look here, you have the obligation to look at and responsibility to look after your offspring. But is when the shoe is on the other foot, do your children have an obligation to you as an adult who can still work and earn their bread? Should your children still be footing your bill when they also have little kids to think about, whose future they have to plan, and also plan for their own retirement?
I feel like
Go ahead.
I think like one of the beauty of Africans is we really are many. Many of us have siblings, more than one, right? So I see how it can be a problem if they only look to one sibling. And because there are families like that, they look at one sibling while they excuse the other. Or maybe the one sibling is one that is like, so I can see how that can be.
But there's
tiring,
something that,
right?
and maybe mine is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I want to ask. Some of our parents, someone helped and, lifted them up, and they worked hard, and they got comfortable and did well for themselves. And then you'll find that maybe there was the one person who did, or there were like two of them who did, and those two now had the responsibility to look after. And at one point, they too had young families, but they were expected to do that.
And they did
and
it.
they did it.
And
And out of doing it, it afforded us now that
The
luxury
luxury.
of being nuclear units, because those children who they catered to went to school, grew up, got jobs, and where they would have been left behind, now they would have been passed on. They would have had their children, in poverty or in lack. And that responsibility would have been passed on somehow to us. So I feel like if it's done wisely, if you're planning, if you know that, let's say I'm going to have automated payments. I'm going to have my savings go off my investments. I know how much I'm spending. I have my percentage calculated that definitely has to be, that goes to that. This is my portion that I'm going to realistically do. Then the next generation, you're going to lighten the burden, and so on and so on and so on. That's my personal
And
view.
even now, in our generation, I feel like there's not many dire relatives that are in
we
dire
can
need.
afford that
Because
because
they're not there
they're
because,
not there.
because
we can
our
afford that
parents
because
did
our
that.
parents did
Yeah.
the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
They
but
looked after the orphans, they looked after their
Yeah.
parents, they built the houses. Our parents did all that. So
So
least
the
we can
numbers,
do
the
a
numbers
stipend.
falling through the cracks are not as many as they would have been, say, if they said,
If they had
so
ignored.
shouldn't they free up their children then to create generational wealth for their children, so they also don't sit back when they're in retirement and now we should lighten the load for the next generation? No.
What I think is they should teach, or they have tried to teach us, that, for example, if you have what Amanda was saying, if you have a certain number of children, you're going to work together to build generational wealth as an entire unit. There's something that we say black tax, but have you noticed what Indians do? How Indians do it?
They grow wealth.
And I learned Italians do the same thing,
Even Ethiopians.
where they will even share housing and cut costs of living so that they are able to pull together different. You see how you have maybe you have 3 sons and they are married, and those 3 sons are living in the same. I'm not saying we have to do the same exact thing, but the idea is the
multi-generational
same.
homes.
Yeah.
The idea is the same, that if we pull together, we can do so much more together than if we try to split up and say, me, I want to build for myself, I want to build. Why, as Africans, are we the ones complaining? This thing exists in other races.
And also, they say it's lonely at the top.
And it really is.
So if you're
After
successful
you've
alone,
made all that money and
you
built
will
the
still be
generational wealth.
burdened. Even when your parents are not it, you will still be burdened because you will be there alone. So it's better you don't, like I said, the proverb.
I feel like
you
we've
go
been
far alone.
educated. We know more, and we can do it in a much smarter, much more sustainable way. If that makes sense.
No, as a mom, as a parent today, I feel like it's a selfish act to expect your children to look after you. It's a
We're
very
not saying that
selfish
it's the
act.
expectation that our children will look after us. I'm saying that, remember I said that now you're planning, you know better. So you know how to plan.
Yeah.
You're planning your retirement,
But while
you're
you're
saving, you're
while
investing.
you're looking after all those generations and all those extended families, you're taking away from your children's basket. and you're taking out from your own.
I
But you
don't
also have to
see
teach-
it that
you also-
way.
basket of
I don't see it
retirement.
that
But you
way.
also have to teach
I
the
see
children.
it as giving our children
Yeah.
such a rich heritage and
Yeah.
understanding of community and sharing. For me, that's how I see it.
Yeah, and also children, even in school, like there's always going to be fortunate and unfortunate. It all starts at home.
Yeah.
If at home you only mind your business, then those are the selfish kids you see in school. They come with their
And go back home with their grab.
They come with a whole big suitcase, and in Chiromo they even pack it to take it back home.
Now you see, it's branded as being selfish. It's not selfish, guys. It is not your responsibility to look after your parents. It's
Okay,
their
fine.
responsibility to look after the children they're giving birth to.
But it is
and
an
to make
honor,
sure that
right?
they are well taken care of, such that they don't have to burden their children in the future.
Can I ask you something? I don't, maybe the way I think is really off.
No, we can have differing opinions about the topic, and it's fine.
No, of course we can.
Okay, let me read something here. Yeah, I saw it the other day in the book of Timothy. It's Timothy. I don't know. I don't want to read a lot of it, but it talks about widows, elders, and slaves. Right. Let me start from verse 3. It says, "Give proper recognition to all those widows that are really in need. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, this should learn first of all to put their religion into practice by caring for their own family and so repaying their parents and grandparents, for this is pleasing to God." Then he goes on down here, verse 7, let's say. Give the people these instructions so that no one may be open to blame. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Right? So what I take from this, is it is not a new thing. It's Ubuntu. Yes, the term black tax was coined in South Africa, but it is a communal thing. Any community that has thrived as a community, leave alone the Western culture where they are very individual, they do their own thing. It's a nuclear unit and that's it. All communities thrive and survive because of that Ubuntu. You take it, you take it because yes, your parents might have worked. Because even your parents' finances right now, when they die, we are entitled. We feel entitled to their right, to their riches and their wealth, right? We want to take the inheritance. So now, if your parents decided to sell everything they have, because I've had like celebrities like Steve Harvey joke about it. He's like, "I'm eating my money now. My children will inherit."
They should.
Yeah, my children will inherit nothing,
as
right?
they should.
Like we survive off of each other, really.
Yeah.
If you can, it's different if you have to. People like there are some people that give beyond their means, and then they end up like, I can imagine if you lived with a husband and you're hungry in the house, but everyone out there is praising him as, generous. That's a different
of sorts.
That's a different case. But if you have, I don't see the problem in.
And
like
I
you
feel
said.
like many times religion is used to oppress our thinking. We tend to fall back to the word of God to cover all these things that box us and oppress us. That's how we were colonized as Africans, using religion. So there's this, you can interpret the Bible a million ways. But for me, my value system is that I should not burden my children. I should prepare myself to be independent such that they can live their full lives. That is how I feel about the topic.
Okay. Now, what is it like for people in the diaspora? You've heard of people talking about how we're waiting for the summers to land. There's that expectation that balina sente, bagenda kujane sente.
And do you know how many people in the diaspora have been scammed by their families?
I feel like taking something that is supposed to be bringing people together and using it to your advantage as one person is terrible. I feel it's heartbreaking, and I feel like you might spoil opportunities for people who actually genuinely need the help. you know, by it's sad. Unfortunately, society has people like that, and then it has people
That
who
always look for
this whole
loopholes
thing
in the
is a real,
system.
it's a
Yes.
systemic issue, by the way,
Yes.
because I believe we all know someone who's been scammed by a family member.
unfortunately.
It is
I've
so
seen those
sad.
that send money to build a home and they come back and,
And there's
none.
There's nothing.
Even some people even scammed by their own mothers. You know, you
It's-
send
it's
your mom
sad
a monthly
because-
stipend, and then on top of that, you're sending her all your money, such that by the time you come back, you're settled, and you come back and there's nothing. People kill themselves over these issues.
It's sad. It's heartbreaking to see people taking advantage of
Have someone that
loved
is-
ones like that.
that has trusted anyone breaking any kind of trust. Now a relative is another level. But back to black tax, I feel like there's a problem with entitlement. There's a mentality.
Entitlement.
No, leave alone entitlement of asking, but there's an entitlement of. There's even like, okay, I was talking to my. I don't want to put her on blast. I was talking to my mom. Yeah, she has done a lot of things for many people. But there is one relative of hers, she loves her to death. But she was just telling her one time, they were talking to her, they're like, you have a lot of property, you have land. Why are you always acting like a poor person? You know, you have land, but you're there asking for, you're not even enjoying your money, right? You're going to pass on tomorrow, and your family is going to eat your money. But because of that mentality of she grew up maybe disadvantaged, she has grown up and maybe gotten inheritance or amassed wealth, but she still
Scarcity
has the
mindset.
demeanor of disadvantage. She still wants to receive and receive. So it's a posture you can get stuck
In
that position of just receiving, to a point that even when she's like, let's say she wants to sell land, it doesn't cross her mind that this person that has always been giving me deserves to be like at least given maybe first opportunity to buy if they want, or maybe like gift them. So you're used to taking. There are some people that have been in families and they're just the givers, and no one is there to pour back into them, and they get fatigue.
You drain yourself,
right? They get fatigue. You give.
That's how you become a bitter person.
Yes, you
because
give.
you're
People
like
are not grateful.
Yeah.
People are not like they forget you. People do not give back to you. I think that is just I don't know.
I feel like that's what I was saying. That now that people that you have more information, that people have been educated and they've learned more and they've seen from experiences of, say, their parents on what they've been through, depending on whether it was good or bad. You've picked something from that. Now use that knowledge for better. For example, for someone like that who's just waiting for a handout, rather than giving them a handout, how about rather than you know how they say you can take a horse to water, but rather than waiting for you, standing there with an open mouth, teach them so that empower them to stand on their own and encourage them to stand on their own, so that they then can also pay it forward and do the same for someone else. But where you would have said, where someone would say
every month,
bagenda tugoba mu nyumba.
Find something you can do.
Let's look into small businesses. What can we set up for you that you can start to go and work at? And then also set a boundary as you're doing that. Set a boundary and say, look, I also have a family. I have responsibilities outside of you. This is what I want to do for you because I want you to do better. And I want you to also be able to do better
for your
children and the generations that will follow. This is what I have to offer. I want us to work, and you build this and you work at it and pour into it and let it grow, nurture it to grow and work for you and whoever else. And then be clear about saying, I will have nothing to offer after this point, because maybe you'll say, look at our family. Maybe you're going to say, you have 10 siblings. Look at our family. I want to help you first, but tomorrow I want to help so and so. I can't always be coming back to help you. I'm helping you today. I'm equipping you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. The next person that I want to look at, both of us actually helping now, is we lift that one. And then the 3 of us now together, after that one has been lifted up, the 3 of us now together Tukwatomlala, we help another
Yeah.
one. Like that, you share the burden.
Exactly.
That's what
agree.
it should be.
I
So
agree
the
that
boundaries also
approach.
have to be set.
Yeah.
The thing that makes us suffer like that, there's a mentality. We're talking about, people are giving, but there's also that thing of wanting to be worshipped because do you know that thing can
Savior
also
complex.
Yes, that complex. That thing can keep you in a certain position where also you're like, they know I give. I want to hold that position in the family.
Of I'm the one.
That I am the one everyone comes to. Please, when they drain you, what are you going to do? Who are you going to blame?
Yeah.
So I feel like better, do better
on both sides.
on both sides. Yeah. And set boundaries and be open and honest.
Yeah.
Because so many times even people are giving and they're not honest that, you know what, I'm giving you today, but I don't know what's coming, what's next, what I'm going to do. Maybe next month I'm facing ABCD. You don't have to pour out what you're going through entirely, but set the boundary and say, right now I have this to give to you.
And
I'm not going to have it.
In this digital era, there are
Yeah.
so many things you can do to make a living, to earn a living.
Yes, if you really want to.
Yes.
And then if that person squanders the opportunity, you've had the conversation. If they come back to you, you are within your rights to sit and tell them, we had a talk.
Yeah.
What happened? What did you do? If you genuinely see that they did their best and it's just
mishap or
then it's up to you again to choose to help or
Yeah.
to say, I'm sorry, I'm unable to help you.
this time. Yeah.
This was an interesting conversation. Please share with us your comments, like, subscribe, and what are our parting shots to the viewers before we leave?
I love the concept of black tax, and when done well, I feel it can raise a village out of poverty, not just individual cases. Because even when you're individual, you look. I don't think it's a good look when you're standing amongst, like, you see those houses they show around surrounded by
That
slums.
if you're standing amongst
It's not even safe because that's when now people start looking at your kids. They start targeting your kids. Like you understand? It's just so generally black tax. I feel like people need to be respectful of people with black tax. They need to be grateful from those that give them that are open-hearted enough to share the little they have. But also, I feel like parents also need to do some kind of protection for their kids. I had when Trevor Noah was talking about the black tax topic, he said his mother told him, "Don't worry, I'll handle the black tax. First, go be famous. I mean, go make your money,
Build yourself.
and then later you can come back and we can help." And he said, and because of that, he was able to move forward and amass the wealth without having the worry of carrying the burden of black tax. So yes, parents need to create an environment and space for their kids, maybe also not to immediately carry the black tax, but also allow them grow fast as a young entrepreneur or young person, and maybe help later on.
So, thank you for tuning in. You've heard our varying opinions and how we could go on forever. And I'm sure it's the same when you're sitting and having those discussions with each other. They are ongoing. We keep learning, we keep growing. And you can tailor you can decide with your spouse, or you can decide for your family how you want to pass it on to your children. It's not that it has to be passed on the same exact way. Make it work for you. You know better, and therefore you can do better. Thank you for watching. Please, if you know someone who needs to watch this conversation or could benefit from watching it, share, drop your comment, like, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can get our episodes as soon as they land. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.